Alright, well, good afternoon everyone, and welcome to my apartment here. I'm a few hours away from recording my first album. Very excited. I've been sitting on some of these songs now for a little while, so this will be my first opportunity to jump into a studio. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to do a video about how to go about writing an album, copywriting an album, how to record it, eventually produce it, and to put it online. So hopefully this will be informative. Hopefully it won't be too annoying or anything like that, but if anything else, it should be fun, I think. Alright, so I am getting really close here now to the recording studio. In fact, actually there it is, right there. Perfect. I'm doing my old illegal U-turn here. Hopefully no one will frown upon this idea too much. But anyways, yeah. I'm not the least bit ashamed to admit that I am a little nervous. This is the first time that we actually did any legitimate recordings. So, you know, we've done recordings in the past where we're chilling out in the basement of a house that we were renting. Very low stress. You just basically press play and see what happens, kind of a thing. We never really did any editing or anything too serious, I suppose, there. But so this is the first opportunity for us to really go ahead and lay down some legitimate tracks. So let's go check it out. Yeah, so behold the glory that is the studio. This is where all the magic happens. Alright, so I just got back with the studio there. Hey buddy. And first thoughts and impressions, that was awesome. It was a very enjoyable opportunity there. We got our first 8 songs of the album done, and I think it took about 6.5 hours to complete, and I do admit 6.5 hours is a long time to be jamming out there. I noticed that usually when we gig, it's usually about a 4-hour gig, and we have a variety of breaks that we typically have in between it there, so going 6.5 hours is pretty big order for our typical playing regimen, but overall I really did enjoy it. It was difficult at times. Towards the end there, after playing for that long, what I noticed is that your muscles start cramping up a little bit there, so careful of that. It was probably about 5.5 hours of playing that I noticed that I started cramping up, so unfortunately at the tail end of those 8 tracks I had a little difficulty kind of getting vibratos and executing my chords properly, but overall it was an absolute phenomenal experience, and I recommend it to anybody, of course. But anyways, I'm calling it a night. That was long. I'm exhausted. I'll be hitting this up tomorrow, so see you later. Alright. Well, just got back from the second day of recording there. Hello, little guy. By the way, this is Socrates. I'm sure you'll be seeing a lot of him as the kind of recordings go along here. So, but anyways, a long day. Yeah, I think we spent 9.5 hours, which is a long time in the studio. I also run a chess league as well too, though. So 2 of those hours I dropped out while my bass player ended up doing some sax solos. But anyways, long story short, here it is. So we ended up finishing all of the guitar tracks, all the bass tracks, and all the drum tracks. So just kind of a little bit of a note on the procedure of it all. If you notice some of the recordings that I ended up doing there, I ended up doing some singing while I was playing. But to be honest, that actually isn't going to go into any of the final cuts. A lot of those were actually just to give reference for some of those songs there. So I'm going to use this, and I'm going to sing along with these to kind of get a bit of a feel for singing and not playing guitar, because I actually find that to be a little more difficult. Singing while you're playing guitar, to me, for some odd, peculiar reason, I suppose, is that I actually find that a little easier. So I'm going to be doing that for the next few days, and so I'll be doing all the vocal tracks and all the backup vocal tracks, and then after that, hopefully we'll end up sending that down to getting mastered. But just to put this all into context, for price-wise, I just got the bill, and I just dropped about $571. So that's how much that CD right here costs. And so I'm going to go ahead and listen to this a little bit and see how it all came out, but anyways, good times. I just got back from the studio. I'm officially done with all of the lead vocal tracks. So, in lieu of this joyous occasion, I'm going to do something that I haven't done before, and that is to show you guys a montage of all the time that I spent in the studio. So, without further ado, here you go. To put everything into context, 4 days from now is going to be our 2-month anniversary of when we started recording. So it's taking a little longer than I thought. Not only that, I just got the bill early on this evening as well, bringing the grand total up to $1,412.50. So it's getting kind of expensive. But to be perfectly honest, I am okay with that. Like, I want something that I'm going to be proud of. All of the recordings that I've done in the past, like whenever I show them to people, I kind of cringe inwardly. And I don't want that to be the case for this album. So I'm more than willing to invest the extra time and money to do the job right. So I've got the backup vocal tracks that I still have to do. I still have to lay down some guitar solos, but beyond that, the recording is pretty much taken care of. So that's a little bit of an update on circumstances there. Alright, so time to start figuring out what I'm going to be doing for the solos for the album. I've got 7 opportunities to express myself creatively on the instrument here, and I'm very much looking forward to the opportunity. Now, to be blunt about it, I love spontaneity. I love doing what feels right at the moment. I love improvisation. And when it comes to live performances, there's so many different ingredients contributing to the overall quality of the sound. What your band members are doing, how the crowd is interacting with you, what you feel like at the moment, all of these factors play a vital role in how that solo is going to be expressed. Now, I remember when I was first getting going in bands, I used to think that the merits of a good guitarist is to play the solo exactly how the album went. So for example, if you were doing a Jimi Hendrix cover, or a Stevie Ray Vaughan cover, or what have you, it really doesn't matter, but the closer that you were able to replicate that on stage, the better of a musician that you were. But as I matured on the instrument, I started to realize doing the same thing over and over and over again, regardless of what's going around you, it's boring. It's tedious. It's redundant and slightly disingenuous to the moment, because every situation is slightly unique. So to use that uniqueness properly, to me, it seems the best way to approach it. But as for most rules, there always seems to be exceptions, and writing the solos for an album seems to be one of them. And so what I've been doing for my strategy and how I've been writing these album songs, or solos I should say, is that I've been goofing around in my normal manner, and every now and then I'll come up with a lick or an idea, or at least a concept that I really enjoy. And as I continue doing this, I'll kind of take little pieces and parts from my improvising, and eventually I'll construe it in such a way that a full solo is created. So this is basically the byproduct of all that kind of goofing around there. So this is the solo for Minnesota Nice. I kind of started with a slap idea, which I kind of like. Something like that. At least that's the basic blueprint or underlying idea. I'll probably change some stuff before the actual recording, but at least you got the gist of it. Alright, so I've been jamming out for the last half an hour or so, coming up with a few different ideas on what I might be doing for the solo for What a Dream. Without further ado, here we go. I'll use a wah pedal on the album, so it's going to sound a little different from an electric guitar not plugged into anything, so you'll have to use your imagination. Something like that. That was a little sloppy, but at least you get an idea. Alright, moving right along. I've been jamming out for about 20 minutes now, coming up with a solo for Live Triumphantly. I do apologize in advance. I'm going to approach this one a little differently from the solos I've done thus far. The main reason being, when we were recording the studio, I ended up laying down an improvised solo over the track, so we're going to take that one out and put this one in, but I don't want to solo over that track. Two solos occurring at the same time, doing different things is going to sound a little weird, so. But anyways, this is what I came up with here, so. Short, simple, but yeah, I think it'll probably work, so. I've been jamming out for a fairly decent amount of time, and now I have an idea what I'm going to be doing for the solo on Trust in Love. Now, during the actual studio recording, we're going to be doing a fade out at the end, so while I'm playing this, I'm going to try to cue that to give it some context. Anyways, here we go. Can always trust in love, 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 love.
Cue fade out. It would have faded out way before this point anyways. We ended up recording this for a fairly long time just to make sure that the fade out was going to work, but anyways, there you have it. Slight change in plans. Originally I was going to do 7 lead guitar tracks, now I'm only going to do 6. The reason being is that I ended up shifting the album order a little bit, and now I'm going to be ending with It's Up to Us, and I thought it'd be really cool to throw a saxophone solo in there. That'd give the album a little symmetry in that regard. But anyways, it gives me 2 solos that I still have to do. So this is going to be the lead guitar track for We Finally Won and Happy Losing Time. And if you're curious as to why my screen is jostling a little bit, my cat is playing with my computer, so don't mind that. So that's the first one. Buddy. He's rubbing his face against the side of the screen. It's kind of funny. That's kind of in the ballpark for how I'm going to do that. I couldn't really hear with all that racket going on what I was actually doing, but at least have an idea there, so.
Just got back from the studio, ended up laying down all of my lead guitar tracks. So, here's a little bit of a montage of that. And I gotta admit, my hand is absolutely killing me. I think it took 3 hours to actually end up doing there. It may have looked pretty quick on the video, but that was actually just me doing pretty much the first take, which I ended up trying to improve upon later on there. But 3 hours of doing nothing but laying down guitar tracks. Oops. Sorry about that. Anyways, so that part is done. Excited about that. That took a little longer than I anticipated. I was expecting to go in there for like 45 minutes, and that certainly was not the case. But it's done. So all I have to do now is finish up all the backup vocal tracks,
lay those down, and the recording is finally done. So, that's where we're at. So, it turns out recording an album is a lot more of an organic process than I thought. Originally, I was going to do 7 solos, then I changed that to 6 solos. Now I'm going to do 8 solos. So, here's the next one on the list. This one's called It's Up to Us. Well, we'll see. We'll take my GoFundMe. Anyways, things just keep on changing with this album. I might even toss in instruments that weren't even a part of the original trio, so we'll see how that whole part of it goes. Check it out. Just got done mapping out what I'm going to be doing for the backup vocal tracks on Live Triumphantly. I've got 2-part harmonies, I've got 3-part harmonies, and I think I even attempted to do a 4-part harmony at one point. Now, I'm not going to be doing a video every single time I end up writing out vocal tracks. It's going to be way too long, and I'm in no mood to do that. Alright, so I am almost done with this now. I'm doing one of the most tedious things about getting an album out there, and that's to get the copyright. So, I ended up going to the Library of Congress. They have an electronic copyright submission thing. And anyways, I just ended up going through the whole form of it all, got done paying for it, and now I'm at the point where I could press this button there. I'm not even sure if this phone is even on there, but anyways, let's see what happens. It's working. Maybe it's working, I don't know. Technology and me typically don't get along. Well, it took about an hour to complete the forms and all that stuff. And if anybody's really interested about the specifics of it there, I can go ahead and write that down as well too eventually. But anyways, it looks as though, oop, it's getting closer. See it? You'll notice I'm not very good with technology. There's a reason why I have somebody doing all my video editing and all that kind of stuff, so this stuff is pretty new to me. I'm usually more confused than insightful, so oh. I don't know. Something's supposed to magically happen now. So, click here to complete your submission after uploading all files. Well, what do you know? Claim submission completed. Well, again, I'm really tired too, so I do apologize for my lack of being articulate. But anyways, it's done, finally, so hooray! Now on to the fun stuff. Hello everyone. Today is either going to be fantastic or a little disappointing, depending on the contents of this letter. Just got this from the Library of Congress, and it's been about 7 months to actually get this letter to me. So, I'm going to check out the contents of this. Well, nothing confirming it as of yet. You know what, actually, I think this is it. Basis for registration, unpublished collection. I wonder if that's my number right there, although it doesn't say bluntly that these are officially copyrighted.
A certificate issued under the seal of the Copyright Office in accordance with the Title 17 United States Code attests that registration has been made for the work identified below. The information on the certificate has been made a part of the Copyright Office records. Voila! It's a day of celebration. So, exciting. Yeah, 7 months. It's a long time, but either way, well worth it, so yeah! It has been a busy last couple months, but at least I'm making progress in the right direction. All of the recordings, at least on my side, are taken care of. So the vocals, the backup vocals, the lead guitar, the rhythm guitar, all of that is finally wrapped up. This is taking forever. I thought this project was pretty much going to take like 2 months to complete. I am officially 10 months into it. But at least I get to start one of the funner things about doing an album, and that is that I get to draw up the cover art. And, I'll be the first to admit I'm really not much of an artist, and I typically need an excuse to pursue it at any length, but I really am excited about the prospect. And what I'm basically going to do is I'm going to take ideas from the book I'm about to publish, and I'm going to integrate them into this cover art. So I'm going to kind of cross-fertilize some of the concepts that I'll be using within that book. All my projects are going to be kind of linked together in one way or another. But to be perfectly honest, I was slightly disingenuous when I said I'm going to start this project, because, as it turns out, I actually finished the front cover about 20 minutes ago. And this took 100 hours to complete. And to be honest, it's really not done yet. I haven't even started coloring it yet, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and show you a video of its progress. And what I did was I took a snapshot with my phone every 30 minutes of work. And what I did is I strung it all together so you can see the gradual unfolding of this picture. So, here you go. There it is. So it took me about 259.5 hours to complete this project, and that is based on the amount of photos that I ended up taking, which isn't quite accurate because I got a little lazy towards the end and started taking photos every 45 minutes or an hour. So it's probably closer to 270 hours worth of work. So I'm going to do a quick pan through. Notice that the title of the band is actually The Flames of the Sun. I hope somebody noticed that out there. And if you actually look right here, I ended up drawing my cat in there. Oh, there you are. Can see the semblance there? If you're wondering about all the animals that I chose for this too, they're primarily the ones that I really love, especially foxes. It's peppered with foxes. Now you notice that the tree in the middle is actually a guitar. I wanted to bridge together as many projects as I could, and the main protagonist in my book actually ends up growing his guitar as a part of his spiritual training. And if you look at that guitar, you notice any similarities? Not only that, but if you look in the corner, I did a symbol there. And that symbol is actually located right there. So there's a lot of different things that I ended up integrating into this work. The tree in the background, that's actually a plot device in my book. It's called the Tree of Dreams, and notice that this building isn't built.
it was actually growing. So this was a lot of fun to do. I did it all in colored pencils, which is probably the worst artistic medium you can ever have, because for one, it's incredibly slow. Second, it actually gets rather painful after a while. But I did end up collecting all the pencil shavings, so I have a half a pound worth as a result of this project. So there it is. I'm glad that you guys were able to come for the ride a little bit there. So you'll have to forgive me for being cautiously optimistic. I am 25% done uploading my first video to YouTube. And to me, this is the beginning of a brand new era. I don't have a single video online, and I decided to put my album as my very first video, the complete album. Now, the reason why it took so long, and there are a variety of different reasons, but one of which was completing the cover art. I've never done a project this long before, and this actually took 13 months to complete. So it started out like this. This was a 19 by 19 piece of paper. And I picked a very slow medium. I chose colored pencils because I'm very terrible at brushwork. But anyways, after 13 months of work, this is what it turned out to. Regretfully, most scanners are not that large, so I had to go to a graphic designer and have them take multiple scans, and then they patched it all together. Long story short, I got the scans back about an hour ago. And then I fumbled around on my computer, and I figured out a way to make a video out of my album. So now I'm in the midst of downloading that to YouTube. So again, I'm very glad that you're able to join me on this, and hopefully things will continue to go well. Well, after 14.5 months of work, this is what I have to show for it. Notice, I get to be the first one to actually view it as well too there, so... If it actually works, it is. There it is. Oops, I get to be the first to watch it, which makes sense. Moving right along, the next part about doing an album is to come up with the designs for the printed version. This picture right here should be familiar by now. That's going to be the cover art, and it's hanging on my wall right now. This photo right here was taken approximately during the time that we're recording, so it's pretty consistent. I did some modifications of it on Adobe Photoshop. It took about maybe 3.5 hours to complete that design. That'll be the back cover. Initially, we were going to do a photo shoot, but that never actually happened. So we ended up having a gig, and directly thereafter we went to my apartment and took this shot. This will be on the inside cover. This too was taken in my apartment. I made some modifications of it. That'll be in the right inside cover. And when it's all said and done, here is a template that we're sending to the printing company. So we have the main title right here. Here's the back cover. This is going to be a slot that holds the disc. This will be the inside left cover, inside right cover, and again, that's going to be for the disc. And speaking of which, we made some designs for that as well. Here was my first one. Notice that it's actually taken from the sun on my drawing. I wanted to do a disc around that design. But when I saw it, I wasn't entirely impressed. And by the way, the actual version wouldn't have these little blotches on it. That was a part of the paper that was printed on. So what I ended up doing instead is I ended up taking my cover art and I ended up printing the disc around that. So that is what the disc is going to look like. Everything is in the process of being produced, so hopefully in the next couple days we'll be able to see the final version. At long last, the journey has come to an end. I just got the
box back with all of the printed versions of the album, and this is amazing. I mean, again, I think it's about 3 weeks from now we're going to be celebrating our 2-year anniversary for when we ended up starting this project. And again, this is what it was all for, right there. What a journey. It really was. There were a lot of different things that I didn't take into consideration when I was going through this. First of all, the time that I expected this to take was much longer than I thought. I mentioned that multiple times throughout that, and it is absolutely true. So, not only that, the price ended up coming up a little more than I anticipated as well. So, according to my books, I spent $2,534.50 on the tracking, and that was pretty much all of the recording parts of it, so to speak. So recording vocals and backup vocals and the band in general, I suppose. So that's all the tracking costs. I spent $2,031.50 on mixing, and by the way, that was probably the most unexpected expenditure a part of this project. And it's one of the more tedious parts of doing an album, and you'll see why. Here's some footage of it. So imagine doing that for hours and hours and hours. You would pretty much end up taking individual instruments, like even the bass drum for the drums, and you would isolate that, and we put it through a channel that it was recording on, and then we do the same thing for the snare drum and the hi-hat and then the toms, and we did that with the guitar and the bass guitar. So it was all this analog tracks that we were recording on, and it took forever. So that was one of the things I did not anticipate for the process. I spent $554.50 on mastering. We sent that off to Nashville. I have no idea what the company that we used for that, but they did a pretty darn good job. I spent $181 on CD prints. And I spent $186.36 on these individual sleeves. So that puts the grand total of this project to $5,408.68. Again, this is an investment. And this is phase 1. Now we can get into getting the website up. We could start booking more gigs. We could start doing music videos. All of these different things are going to be a result of making this investment. So again, well worth it. I'm glad that you guys were a part of this whole journey with me. Thanks. This has been great. There it is. Nearly 2 years of work sitting in a box. It's funny to think about it like that. Turned out pretty good. So there's the front cover. Your back cover. That's what the inside is going to be looking like. Yep. The disc. And the other inside picture. Now, I can't tell you how many hundreds of hours I've invested into this project. I mean, the time it took to write all the songs, to rehearse them, to get things ready for the album, to record it as a band, and then do all the vocals and all the backup vocals and all the lead guitar, and then we got to all of the mixing and mastering. It was a crazy ride. I really am glad that you guys were there to see this whole thing unfold. Again,
if anybody's interested in purchasing one of those are going to be available at our website, and it's all online as well too. iTunes, Amazon, Spotify. There's a whole bunch of sites you can get it from that. So again, this has been great. I hope you guys had as much fun watching this as I had creating it.